That is right, guys. It is time. We've got part two of a fantastic conversation with a living legend, and I'm really excited about it. But before we get started, you may have seen in that intro that I'm asking you to subscribe. So if you go to the link below, All Access Live at YouTube. So you go to youtube.com/All Access Live with Kevin Rankin. Hit the subscribe link and then hit the little bell. You'll be notified about my upcoming guests. And you can also go back and look at the previous conversations that I've had, over 200 of them in the last year and a half. It's been a pretty amazing opportunity for me. And it would be impossible without the sponsorship from my friends at 5 Star Guitars. You can see them everywhere, all over me. I'm drinking their Kool-Aid. I want you to go to 5starguitars.com/All Access Live. You're going to see a bunch of products there that are having a discount. You'll get a promotional discount for All Access Live, and then if you use the promo code of All Access 15, you're going to save 15% off of everything you see there. And if you order online, there's no sales tax. So all of you out there outside of Oregon that are paying sales tax for gear, go to 5starguitars.com/All Access Live, and you're going to save money. Hopefully, get yourself a gig like my next guest. So if you were here last week, you caught just a glimpse into a remarkable entertainer in the business. He was the inspiration for the Blues Brothers. He had a fantastic story about his time with Steve Miller. And today we're going to talk about his favorite heavy metal band. He doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to bring him on here now. So with no further ado, and thanks again to Scott Kramer for connecting us. This is my buddy, Curtis Salgado. Curtis, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great, man. So we're talking metal, right?
Are we talking metal?
I heard that there's one particular band that you absolutely love, and then one particular album, the Holy Diver album from Ronnie James Dio. I heard you do quite an impersonation.
No, sir, I don't. I know where that's coming from.
Yeah,
that's my heavy metal guru, Scott Kramer. But I got to tell you, we listened to Holy Diver for, I think, a full entire summer, or maybe even a year. The cassette tape was in our cassette player in our van, or maybe it might even been a CD, and nobody moved it. And it just sat in there, so I had to ask questions, And Scott gave me the history, but
did he give you the real history? Did he give you the doo-wops, the doo-wop era?
So, he hooked me. So
Yeah.
I'm now a full-on Ronnie Dio fan and stuff like that. You got to give respect, Look, have you ever seen Buckethead?
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm a big Buckethead fan.
He's a serious player, man.
And I've got a story of him. And then I went to see Pantera, and with Dimebag Darrell. The original band.
Yeah.
And that was really the first full-on mash and serious heavy metal band that I saw, and I got it immediately. I get this. And then, incredible stamina, and I got it. And
if you're going to see a metal band, Pantera's the one to see.
Pantera. I was wearing their I should have put their t-shirt on, because I got the Pantera. And then the other friend of mine, I like Marilyn Manson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I like his show. And I bought on my own, went out and bought Marilyn Manson's record. And I saw him like the last time he was at the Roseland Theater.
No
and I also like Rage Against the Machine.
Huge fan. Love him.
Yeah. So you can't. I like the way the guy, they're very political and stuff, but just the whole thing, there's something about his voice, the vibe, and that's what it's about. It just feels, and his message gets across to me. Sometimes it doesn't hit, but that hits. I also like a person named K Flav. Have you ever heard K Flav?
I haven't.
Well, who's that?
There's Pantera right there. That's Vinnie Paul, the drummer. Yep. Yeah. Huge fan.
Yeah.
K Flav. No, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, she's kind of a rap.
Okay.
I can't say she's just got a particular kind of vibe,
It's great.
I like a lot. I like Billie Eilish
a
lot. I could see Miles Davis doing her songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you know what? Speaking of that, you were talking about Rage Against the Machine a second ago. There's a band called Brass Against. Have you heard those guys?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a link. They are a killer R&B and like this big brass section and funk band with a variety of different singers, but this incredible black singer. She's a phenom. She sings all the Rage Against the Machine stuff with horn section. So like there's a
I
there's a
love it.
there's a Barry Sachs playing the bass parts, you know, and
Right.
it's ripping, man. So Brass Against, go
Oh,
check
I
them
love
out.
it. I
Yeah,
mean, yes, please hook me up.
you got it. Man, you know, since our conversation last week, I've had a lot of people, including Jennifer Batten, reach out to me and said, wow, this dude, I can't wait for part two, because not only do you have the stories, but the way that you deliver your experience, you know, it's a really, you know, you're humble about it. It's engaging. You know, everybody that was watching was so pissed that I had to shut us down and go on to next week, but
My apologies.
no, it's a good cliffhanger, man. I like that. Make them wait, you know,
Yes.
and so
Jennifer Batten.
oh,
Wow.
yeah,
You know?
man, one of my favorite people on the planet, you know, and I like you. She's so hip to a variety of different music. You know, I was fortunate to play with her when she first moved here, and my first gig with her was at the World Guitar Congress in Baltimore. And so there's John Schofield and Eric Johnson and Dick Dale, you know, and just the whole gamut. And
Right.
I was feeling like, yeah, you know, I wanted to feel like I was with my contemporaries, but man, I was just holding on for dear life. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I totally get it.
Yeah,
I
man.
totally. Look, I'm into Little Walter, you know, Muddy Waters and stuff, but I know enough about you. You just got to respect music, and it either hits you or it doesn't. So art is subjective, but you got to respect how much time these people have put in and what they've done. And you know, like I said, I went to see Pantera, and it was like I got it when it was there. It's like first of all, you feel it.
Yeah.
It's just like it's there. I don't know what the guy is singing because it's this, like this. Yeah. But you got to give that credit. You know what I mean? It's just like, what does that take? Shredding your voice like that. How is this done? How are they tuning their instruments? Are they lowering the strings?
Yeah.
I mean, there's this whole thing. You know, why is Ozzy Osbourne and what was the band he was in? Excuse me.
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Why did they, you know, and Scott said, you know, they slowed it down. They slowed this dangerous, you know, groove grind that's going on. Oh, I get it. Okay. I love history. I love why things tick. I want to know why it makes something, you know.
You know,
why.
The bands,
and then I get into it more. It's like, okay, I get it, you know.
The bands that you talked about, if you think about each band, it doesn't matter what genre, they are fully authentic, right? You can tell that none of those bands are mailing it in. They're not gimmick. You know, people might have thought like Marilyn Manson was all shtick, right? But then you'd see him do his thing, and that dude is committed to what he's saying, right? Rage Against the Machine, same thing. Nothing tentative about those guys, right? They're not.
No, this isn't. This guy's really intelligent.
Yep.
You know, he's no idiot. That guy's brilliant.
That's the truth, man.
And and I also like he's doing the FU, you know.
Right. Yeah.
This is how it is.
This is rebellion.
And yes.
I can't wait to hear the next Curtis Salgado
pure
metal.
rock and roll. That's what rock and roll is about. You know?
The Curtis Salgado metal album coming out next. This is going to be a fun. Yeah. So we're going to tune your guitars down, drop D or maybe even C.
That's right.
You're warming up. Hey,
I have blown harmonica through a Marshall stack, though. I've tried that.
Have you?
Out.
Yeah. What did it, you know, in that kind of space, are you going through like effects pedals or anything like that too?
I want to.
Yeah.
I went through a wah-wah when I was a teenager, and I thought that was cool, but now I can't remember what the hell I did.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
but it kind of had a, you know, I don't know. I am who I am, and I'm pure R&B. It's blues, soul, rock and roll. I'm old school, but I just like music. I mean, I'm old school, but sometimes I'm better as a listener, you know.
Yeah.
I'm better as a listener. And I'd love to play. I'd love to get out there and play, and it's like going to the rubber room. It's like going inside of a padded cell, and getting it out, and that's what it's about, you know.
You know what? Last week we talked about you putting on your glasses because that's where you keep your pitch, and you also, when you close your eyes and you kind of roll with the music. Are you one of those kind of guys that can get completely just lost in the music on stage where it doesn't even matter who's out front?
Yes, but not all the time. That
Yeah.
happens once in a while for me.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be something if it happened every time? I mean, wow.
The goosebumps.
But yeah, and I've sang lyrics not only of my own songs. I mean, that rarely happens, but you're singing, and all of a sudden you really, and I get choked up. It's just like, it all comes to me. I remember when I was a young man and stuff, I never sang the song, and her name was Ann Cole. And Ann Cole originally wrote Mojo Working. I got my mojo working.
Really? Okay.
So Ladies Take Notice is like, it was a song written by a woman. And Muddy Waters was the headliner, and she was on the show with Muddy in the 1950s. And he heard it from her, and he took it from her. And he made the song his own. Now, what's that got to do with me? I love that song. I had the original 45 with a Little Walter on it. I mean, the real deal Muddy Waters on Chess Records. And I couldn't sing it, though, because I didn't know what the hell a mojo was,
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to say is you can't sing it unless you can believe in it. Or I needed to know what the hell this white boy's singing about. Yeah. And, it's kind of like, you got to understand, I'm just string of conscience. So I'm sitting there one day and I'm singing this song, and it goes, early one morning, you broke my heart after telling me we would never part. You walked away from me with another man. Don't you know, baby, that's a low down, dirty shame. You've got to reap what you sow. You got to reap it, baby. I seen it happen before. And when I was singing this, I went, hey, that just happened to me. I just broke up with my lady, and I'm sitting there early one morning. You broke my heart. And I realized, she pretty much said goodbye this morning after telling me we'd never part. And that was years ago, but it's like, I'm not just singing. It's just like, I'm singing what happened to me today at 9 a.m. So,
man, those relationships,
that's when you start to make a connection with the songs you hear, to go, it's layers of the onion, life day by day, this and that. And that's, Jennifer Batten, when she on stage with him, when Michael Jackson singing Man in the Mirror, that's a moving song. That is one of the greatest songs.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because she just commented on Facebook saying, let me play on the Curtis Salgado metal CD. Oh, man.
Yes.
Have you guys ever been on stage together, you and Jen?
No, I haven't met her yet. But I heard when you moved to town, Jennifer, the city was talking. Yeah. It's like, really? Michael Jackson's guitar players moved to Portland?
Not just that. Jeff Beck's guitar player was moved to Portland, because she had just finished playing with Beck, right? And so she, of course, everybody on the planet knew her from Michael Jackson. But when we went and did that Guitar Congress gig, that's what Schofield wanted to talk about. Tell me about Jeff. Tell me about Jeff's cars and his guitars. And it was, it's great that, and I should let her tell it, but she was.
You've had, no, keep going. I'm sorry.
It was when she had. When she was touring with Michael Jackson, she was a huge Beck fan. She mentioned that Jeff Beck was her favorite guitarist, right? And Jen, pardon if I'm paraphrasing, but I remember you saying that you dropped off a cassette to him, and it was one of those things where we've all been backstage, and somebody comes up and gives you their album, and they're like, hey, check it out, and then she gets home from her tour, and there's a message from Jeff saying, hey, I checked out your album. I'd like you to be my guitarist. And so she, went from being like this super fan to being, I think, on Jeff's, she did a few tours and a few records, and she's got some great stories talking about, another living legend. So
what this is, anecdotals, man. Anecdotes from the road.
Yeah.
So love that stuff.
Let's talk about the road, man. I heard about a couple of things. I heard that, you had somebody on the road helping procure drum rugs at Love's truck stops along the way.
Yes, that's true. I played a small part in
borrowing.
and borrow. I still have them. It's on the floor over there.
Do you really? Oh.
I have an Ace rug, but I'm not gonna give up the name of the But yeah, we've got some. It's one of the highlights of my life.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, well,
you got to bring home some. You got to bring home some swag. So we would bring home a Love's Truck Stop rug.
The rubber backing on those were the best drum rugs, man, for sure. Yeah. So I'm sure that they have. It's not like their stock took a hit or anything. But I also heard that you have a favorite holiday, and part of being on the road with you during summertime was special because you'd spend all your per diem on.
4th of July.
There we go. Yeah, it was not heroin, ladies and gentlemen. No.
Even though that happened back in the day.
Okay. But, let's talk fireworks.
All right, let's talk fireworks. And that last statement was not a brag.
Yeah.
I am into fireworks. I like it. Had some fireworks and some from the reservation, and to go outside of your door and put them in the center of the street, and then you light them and they go, it's just, and these are illegal,
Right.
And I'd run back into the house and shut the door, just giggling like a crazy guy, it's like, wow, that was loud. Another one, a friend brought me you want to talk fireworks? It had no label on it. It was a tube with a black base, the tube.
Sure.
And didn't say anything on it. And my friend goes, look, I got this. It cost $35, and we're told you can't blow this off in the neighborhood. And why is that? And they said, well, it's going to shatter windows. Okay, so that makes sense. And I didn't do that. I didn't want to do that. So we were out by the Columbia Gorge, and the tide or whatever was out. The river was, so. Who's Sung and Larry's or whatever you call it, Mexican restaurant. It's the 4th of July. I'm out with my girlfriend. I have a partner with me, and he's with his girlfriend. And we go out to the middle of this mud flat, and we blow this thing off. We light the fuse and run away. We're running away and stuff. We turn around, and it went thump, just boom, and it shook. And, this is just one mortar. And when it blew up, it set off every car in the parking lot.
Oh,
so I'm so glad. So how's that for a memorable story? Yeah,
it's great that you can remember those, especially since you said there were the days that, per diem was spent on other stuff, it's great, the experiences of the road. My buddy Tony Profit's in the chat, and he was talking about the very first date with his wife. They're still together. Was Curtis Salgado of 93 Rose Festival. Most people outside Portland would be surprised to find out how much talent there really is in this area. Portland is really blessed to have some remarkable talent, but you growing up in Eugene, you've always brought it back home. Was there ever a desire maybe to take, to relocate, and especially since the blues thing was so big down south? Had you ever considered maybe heading down to Nolens or Mississippi or anywhere down there?
Oh, yes, definitely. And sometimes for me, it's like, how do you go about doing that? And in New Orleans, of course, the first time I went to New Orleans was in 1980s. And I wanted to see Professor Longhair.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a big Professor Longhair fan. And he just came out with this record called Crawfish Fiesta. Had Johnny, I'm going to screw up his name, but Johnny Vajakovic on drums, who's a great, New Orleans style tradition. He's just a great drummer. And it was an all-star band. And it's a great record, Professor Longhair. Okay. So I bought tickets because I knew he was going to play there. So let's do a little history for it. Dr. John came out with a record called Gumbo Gree or something. And it was his first record on Atlantic. And he made it, supposedly the story is, he made it on side sessions of Sonny and Cher.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. So analog tape, and there's room on it, and they would do this. It has Walk on Gilded Splinters, Mama Roo, this is, I think, one of the greatest, just one of the top 5 great albums of all time. And on the back of that is him mentioning Professor Longhair. He wrote the liner notes, and I'm like, God, who's Professor? So I looked him up in a blues discography, and it was Professor Longhair, 1950s, whatever. And it's Professor Longhair and his Shuffling Hungarians. That was the name of his band. How can you beat that?
Yeah, that's
you know, Curtis Salgado and his Shuffling Hungarians.
Yeah, nobody's stealing that one.
Just like, wow, this guy must be something. And then, and Professor Longhair, Dr. John's talking about him. So that was the first time I heard him. What does this have to do with anything? I got a ticket to go see Professor Longhair in 1980 at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Fest. And sadly, before I went, a few months before the festival took off, he passed away. Died in his sleep. I was like, man, I don't know, but I got a ticket, got a plane ticket. I'm going to go anyhow. And I cried when I was there, literally.
Yeah.
I sat there. I saw Fats Domino to see Fats Domino with an all-black band, all from the black community. And there is Herb Hardesty, and there is Lee Allen, and there is Fats Domino and Smokey Johnson on drums.
Wow.
And it's just like, and these guys are playing rock and roll.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing that's going on that it's just like, this is the shit. This is not because they're black. Yeah. Not because that helps. This is Creole and this is with a whole mix of it, but it's just because these guys live in this planet that's within this planet, that's within this country, that's unlike anything else. It's just New Orleans.
That's true.
I mean, I was just like, people could dance. Everybody's waving handkerchiefs. And I was just going, why wasn't I born here? So yes, I did want to move to New Orleans. And I did for a while kind of have a friend that gave me the key to his apartment. And I did play in a band called Room Full of Blues, and we'd play at Tipitina's, and we'd play at the Maple Leaf, and we'd play at Jimmy's and basic clubs, and of course the most famous being Tipitina's. And I grew up on New Orleans stuff. My father used to collect it.
Let me ask you,
basically, man. So I was like in New Orleans, and then it's just like, this is why wasn't I born here?
Yeah,
when you talk, I wish things would go back to normal, because that's, I miss New Orleans, and Katrina took it down a couple of notches. Yeah. The people are struggling there. It's just, and then COVID, and I got to tell you, folks, if you haven't gone to New Orleans, it is, I'm sure it's not gone.
Yeah.
But man, the heyday of New Orleans and stuff. And the heyday isn't the 1980s. I'm sure it is, but it's just, I don't know, man.
Well, let me tell you my perspective. I went just prior to Katrina, and that was my first time, actually. So just, about a little over a decade ago, I think 2003 or 4. And that's longer than a decade. Sorry, I'm dating myself. But I fell in love with the city. The thing that I noticed was, and you'll probably agree with me, that really getting the sense of what New Orleans is all about is to get off of Bourbon Street. Just ditch Bourbon Street, man, because that's the Hollywood type of New Orleans, right? So you get, every single club is playing Brick House, and and today's favorite, radio tunes. But if you step one block off of Bourbon Street, and you get guys that have been playing there since the '60s, and these guys they've lived that life. You mentioned the adversity that people have there too. I think, man, that long before Katrina, it was hard living there. And I think that kind of struggle, man, has really made what that sound is all about. Man. I went on a swamp boat tour out in the Gator swamps, and we talked, you and I have talked a little bit about recovery. I got my 4-year coin in the French Quarter with a bunch of real school, grizzled cats in recovery. And on that weekend, I went on a swamp boat tour, and this dude that was out there was this Creole cat that had grown up out there in the swamps. He was grabbing gators with his hands underneath the jawline, and bringing them up to have us like petting their backs, and these are wild gators out in the swamp. But this guy said, I've never once been on Bourbon Street. The guy's like almost 60, and he's never been on Bourbon Street. And I think that's the real deal, right? I mean, of course, yes, you can drive down Bourbon Street. You can, well, or not drive. You can't. Everybody's walking up it. But for me, the thing that was most special was going to the Ninth Ward, seeing the struggle that people have had, getting off Bourbon Street, hearing real bands of people that have grown up there, that know the culture. Don't go to like the traditional places to get food, but go into the hood and get food there, and and just experience what it is that makes that culture so special. Not not the beads, and not the crazy hurricanes and that kind of, not the hurricane storms, but they sell hurricane drinks, right? That's what everybody's walking around with,
right?
But there is no place on the planet like New Orleans. And
no,
I'm wondering, when you were there, you had that apartment, do you feel like, even though you'd grown up listening to that style of music, that it impacted and influenced you in a way when you came back home?
Oh yeah, well, it did before I went there.
Yeah,
I've been listening to it my whole life. It's like, and then you're there.
Yeah,
that's probably why everything just rushed together. It's just like, why wasn't I? They got a gospel tent there. I saw Dorothy Lovecoats there. That's one of the greatest gospel singers of all time.
Wow.
And you ever hear Dorothy Lovecoats?
I've not. No, I've not. But
I'll send you some.
Okay.
Make your hair stand up. She is like a huge influence on me. I ran up to her like, look, Dorothy Lovecoats is the one who wrote the gospel song 99 and a half Won't Do.
Oh, yeah, definitely know the tune.
And Wilson Pickett and Steve Cropper turned it into an R&B tune, which is, typical, Yeah. I mean, gospel, R&B, they're interlinked. Gospel is the mothership. But this woman, oh, my God. It's just, she doesn't sing like Aretha Franklin. Aretha's beautiful voice and stuff. This woman can squall. And she's just something she's just, her conviction and her strength and her songwriting is incredible. So look up, you all out there, listen to Dorothy Lovecoats, the original 99 and a half Won't Do on Specialty Records.
Okay.
Or That's Enough. Look up the song That's Enough. So as she's playing, you want to hear this?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
So here she is with the gospel harmonettes at the gospel tent. I'm at gospel tent in New Orleans. And, she's singing, and she kind of takes a chair and she's like this. And then you can see kind of like the church hierarchy are kind of standing around there going, oh, we're worried about Dorothy. And then, gossip goes through the crowd. Like, what's up with Dorothy? Geez, I sure. And she's like mopping her head and sitting there on the chair. And they're doing this line, this a walk.
Okay.
And she's sitting there, and the harmonettes are singing, and she's kind of taking a rest, and you could see the male members of the hierarchy kind of coming around going, she cool, and they're talking to each other. And all of a sudden she gets up and kind of goes over to the microphone, and just as the crescendo in the music, the chord changes and stuff, she goes, and grabs the microphone, hops up on one leg and goes hop, 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 hop across the stage. All of us fell to our knees.
Oh,
I'm like crying. She like milked it for what it was worth and brought it up. And the conviction of God. At the end of the show, I ran up to her with a match cover and I was crying. And she's about 6'1", and she's looking down at me. She's she's just a stature. She's like looking down and like, what's this crazy white boy? And I was like a giddy little girl at a boy band or something, Please, can I have your autograph? She goes, sure, darling. And she gave it to me like, man, Dorothy Lovecoats. I still get choked up listening to some of her songs. So especially That's Enough. And she's a river. She wrote I'm Holding On, which is a staple in many of the churches here in the Black community. She's one of the greatest songwriters of all time.
Man,
And her conviction towards, they wanted her, like a lot of these people, they want them to be R&B. And most of your great R&B singers are from the church.
Right. Yeah.
And she, but she held on to her conviction. There's nobody like her in my book. She's probably number one biggest influence of me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's Johnny Taylor, Sam Cooke, blah, blah, all the great singers, Donny Hathaway, Stevie Wonder, just amazing voices. Can I say something off the side?
Yeah.
What's going on now is back in the day, everybody had a unique voice. And that's not happening a lot anymore. Everything's kind of sounding the same.
Yeah.
The Weeknd sounds like so-and-so, sounds like so-and-so, and this woman sounds like this and this, and there's nobody Billie Eilish sticks out to me. I realize I said she does, but anyhow, move on. But I mean, there's a lot of cut and press stuff, because back there, let me name off R&B: Johnny Taylor, Sam Cooke, Wilson Pickett, Ivory Joe Hunter, Muddy Waters, Sonny Boy Williamson, Howlin' Wolf, on and on and on. They do not sound alike.
Right.
They have their own personality, and that is what is important to me. Is like, that's what I miss. It is important, but that's what I miss. It's like B.B. King doesn't sing like Albert King, who doesn't sing like Freddie King.
Right. Yeah.
All three of them have different voices. And that's not just R&B. Pop back then was the same. Pop music as well.
You wonder. I mean, if the sound that's all derivative now is only because so much has already been done, right? I mean, it's not like you can't recreate and have a new sound. There are bands that do it, but you also think about all the artists that we just don't hear about, right? Because the way that the mass media presents music anymore, you get sort of force fed what's commercial, force fed what the record companies or media companies, the conglomerates know that this is it's like surface level stuff. This is going to sell. And you don't get a chance unless you're hanging out in record stores. You're hanging out with your community to say, hey, hit me to some of the newest stuff. And I think now with streaming and online marketing and that kind of thing, if people can do it right, it's up to us, to use word of mouth to get the word out for some of those artists, because we're certainly not going to get it from the Rupert Murdochs and the Clear Channels and Intercom and
you're absolutely. Places. I feel the same. Now, someone's going to stick out, but to be fair, but it's not. I mean, I just look. I like rap. I like all sorts of stuff. It either hits you or it doesn't. That's it. But I'm just hearing a lot of so much so. It's. All music becomes somewhat kind of, okay, I've heard enough of that. I've heard enough classical. I've heard enough jazz. I've heard enough rap. I've heard enough this. And it all has a tendency. Variety is the spice of life.
Absolutely.
But all in all, music is it's the most positive thing that I think we do as a human, as a species on this planet.
I would say there's probably no more original band that I've heard of other than maybe The Legend of Stinko Butt Lips. Yeah.
Okay, man. Who sent you that?
That's Scott Kramer again.
Yeah.
He had to split, but he sent me that one. He said, you guys had quite a good time coming up with set lists and song titles, and The Legend of Stinko Butt Lips is pretty pronounced. Yeah.
So, that was graffiti on a wall in Sacramento, California, when I was with the Robert Cray band.
Okay.
We looked up on the wall and it said, can I cuss on the? I mean, this is, I don't, I'm sorry if this offends anybody. I don't mean it, but I got it. So we're looking at all. You know how dressing room walls have graffiti on them?
Yeah.
And then there's this, and there's those great, some artists doing this something and this and that, and there's X-rated and this, and all of a sudden there's this little thing that said, eat shit and bark at the moon, signed Stinko Butt Lips. So that's that stuck with me. I mean, still to this day, I will choke.
God,
You know, I was hoping you'd ask me who I love in Portland and who are some of my favorite people in Eugene and Portland.
I was going to ask that because actually a couple of people in the chat were also asking. They talked
Oh,
about
good.
Eugene. Well, Scott Southworth is a great friend of mine who's a wonderful country singer down in Nashville right now. He was a Portland cat, and he talked about how you were a major influence on his songwriting. And here's what he says. He says, Curtis is one of my musical and songwriting heroes and influences. Sending love from Nashville. So, yeah, Scotty's he's a real cat, and and he said he learned a ton from you watching you perform in Eugene and Portland back in the day. So I was thinking, a lot of people have said that you are their, modern heroes in a bunch of different ways. Who do you feel like influenced you and kind of, you held out in high regard here?
Well, it's coming up. You have to understand my personality is I'm just fascinated. And it's not just the music. I wonder about who are they? Where did they come up? What was their environment? How do you, so I like, when I was in Eugene, there was a guitar player named Frank Speaker, and he used to play with Nancy King and Sonny King.
Okay.
And Nancy King is this great jazz singer. She's like probably one of the finest on planet Earth. And I don't know what Nancy's doing now, and her husband was Sonny King, who was a tenor saxophone player. And Cannonball Adderley used to talk about him in DownBeat magazine, saying, hey, man, you guys got to hear this cat named Sonny King.
Right.
And he was in Eugene. Frank Speaker, another guitar player who was Cherokee from the Cherokee Nation. And he was a great guitar. He turned me on to like Roy Nichols, and he turned me on to Merle Haggard back when I was like a junior in high school. Okay. And his name was Jim Cochran, and Robert Cray. I spent time with Robert. And Robert, I will say, was fully realized. Now, he plays guitar, but as far as his singing and just his temperament and how he plays, he could pretty much hear anything and play it, kind of. And he is, I looked up to him a lot. I mean, he was fully realized. There's other people, Warren Rand, who's an alto saxophonist. There's Peter Bowe. Then there was this band, Richard Cousin. There's a guy that I knew for a while. His name was John Williams, and he was in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
He goes, we heard about this band called Pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
And Pleasure is, so I would have to say a mixture of jazz and funk, soul,
Sure.
But they were from here in Portland. And I saw them open up for Tower of Power.
Oh, man.
And the first thing that happened was the beginning of the show at the fairgrounds in Eugene is this drummer by the name of Bruce Carter. He had to be a teenager. And he walked out with just a hi-hat. And he put the hi-hat down. Now, I haven't seen Buddy Rich do this yet, but this kid walked out and started the show, Pleasure. I've never seen him, just heard about him. Went to, it's kind of like it got around in the circles.
Yeah.
And Bruce Carter just killed it with this hi-hat.
Just a hi-hat.
Just up and down and this and that and this and whatever. And brought boom. That's how the song launched. That's how the show launched. And I am told years later that when members of Tower of Power, like Emilio Costello saw that, I hope I pronounced his name right. I didn't. When he saw that, it was like, who is this guy? And Bruce Carter. Yeah. And then there was a bass player and a guitar player. It was Marlon McClain, who is a mentor to me. He's probably one of my closest friends. And another person who's become close to me is who I just like. His name is Nate Phillips. Nate Phillips is this rhythm section was jaw dropping.
Yeah.
And Dennis I can't remember the saxophone, Dennis Springer, the saxophone player, incredible. And I wish I could remember all. They all deserve credit. But it was the bass player, Nate Phillips, Marlon McClain, and Bruce Carter. And they were, this is happening here in Portland.
Right.
And they were that level.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Bruce Carter was Dennis Chambers.
Sleepy little Portland, Oregon,
right.
with these
sleepy little Portland, Oregon, and Nate, who's I'm honored to even have on a few cuts of mine from the records and stuff. Is Nate's actually the guy? He didn't get credit for this, I don't think, and that is he's the guy playing the bass line on what's the song by New Shoes?
I Can't Wait.
That's I Can't Wait. Yeah. That is actually Nate Phillips playing that.
Right.
John Smith wrote it.
Yeah.
He wrote the line, but he hired Nate Phillips.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
Phillips did it in with one of those Moog things.
Yeah.
But it was his Moog. And
wow.
I guess you have to warm it up for like a half an hour or something. I never knew this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, that's his touch. That's his thing. He's playing it. That's his swagger. Vibe. And people should know that, man.
Yeah.
Nate Phillips is a bad mosquito. He's a bad gunslinger. He's a bad.
All those guys. I mean, like rest in peace, Bruce Carter, man. When I first moved here to Portland, I was, at that point he was playing with Kenny G, and when they started talking about this guy Bruce Carter from Pleasure, I was thinking, well, Kenny G, man, come on. And then you see live cuts of him playing, and you said, that he's like Dennis Chambers, but I'm not to discredit Chambers, man. He's iconic and a legend. What can you
say? I mean, it's apples, oranges.
But Carter had this. He had all those chops. All were there, but he didn't play him until it was just like time to unleash the fury, right? He'd sit there back and play pocket, and you thought, oh man, this guy can groove like crazy. And then when it opened up, and he was a large cat, right? Yeah. And he's one of those guys where he could move air, when that guy would play. And I remember just because I caught him right when I moved to Portland, and there were so many guys like that I saw. But I remember seeing like Bruce Carter and thinking, okay, I going back to Montana with my tail between my legs, Yeah, and rest in peace. Marlon too. And
Marlon is funky.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another guitar player in town who I love. His name is Doug Lewis, and he is unreal. He's someone I look up to, and Marlon, Bruce Carter. Can we go back to him?
Yeah,
I remember I did a small little gig with Bruce Carter on drums. A guy named Jan Selt. He could put stuff together. Guitar player, songwriting stuff, and Janice Scroggins. That's where I met, and but Bruce Carter comes in, and this guy Jan Selt didn't have any drums, and Bruce didn't bring any, but he did have his 4-year-old's drum kit.
Oh no!
One of those tiny little basses.
Yeah.
So listen up to this: one of those little snare drums and a cymbal with like a bite out of it, with a half moon bite and stuff. And so there's a song by Paul Simon, but me and somebody, down by the schoolyard, and it has a this whole. So I'm like going, this is that Paul Simon song, or it was Stevie Wonder's.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, music, all of them, right?
Yeah.
And Bruce Carter played this drum kit and played the hell out of it. He was hitting the floor, the stands like this. I mean, by this point, I'd already seen. I mean, God, those guys are just so talented. And could see him at this place called the Candlelight, and he'd hit a snare, and he'd sit down on the set, and it would just sing.
Yeah.
And then another drummer who was a good drummer. This isn't an amateur. Sit down, but it didn't. And that's when I realized it was quantum physics.
Right.
It's like, this is quantum physics. I didn't even know the word back then, but it's like he's moving molecules differently. And I think that's the magic of musicians, man. It's just like That's what I want to do. You know what? I'm a really wonderful singer, but too bad it's in Sam Cooke's throat.
Yeah.
Too bad, you know. I got a great voice, but too bad it's in Donny Hathaway's throat.
Yeah.
I got a great voice, but too bad it's in, you know, this person. I'm like, you know, you got to deal with what you got to do. But
That's the
I
truth.
like everybody. I just love music.
When you know, I love that you keep sort of referencing back to that. And I think, you know, the first time you and I talked on the show, and even before that, you have a lot of reverence for a whole variety of different musicians, a lot of local people. Tell me a little bit about Curtis back in the day. You mentioned, there was a point in your life when recovery became a big part for you. You know, you think, I'm done with the party. And were you that humble and sort of, were you tipping your hat back then? Or do you feel like a lot of that respect and admiration really became present after you got sober?
I'll tell you, I cannot tell you the 12 steps right now. I can't go, well, I can go step 1, admit that you're an alcoholic.
Sure.
I know the 4th step I know is like you write, you know, make amends to people and write out what gives you, which makes you resentful and this and this and this.
Yeah.
But I cannot tell you the 12 steps. I don't, but if you put the board up, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So why am I telling you this? It's the best thing I ever did. And did I have that? So here's what happened to me. I OD'd a few times. I knew I was killing myself. And I was playing at the Key Largo, downtown Portland. I couldn't wait to get home to shoot up cocaine. I mean, why snort it?
Right.
Let's go.
Get to you faster, right?
I want to see Jesus now, you know, and I don't mean dead, you know.
My God.
I mean, I remember when I was a little kid and I got in trouble and I prayed and I wanted to see him appear and he didn't, and I was disappointed. So that's my personality. Where is this guy, you know?
Waiting.
So let's move. That's what I mean. I want to see, you know, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't drink because, oh, this is fine. Listen to the ice cubes rattle. I want to let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't drink because it was social. I drank to get high.
Yeah.
And I want to get high now. So that said, I knew I was killing myself and it was not fun anymore. And it was just like, if I'm not careful, and I'd already OD'd and I had someplace I'm going to go. I'm going to get on track again. Oh yeah. So let me tell you what happened. Want to hear my OD story? Who doesn't?
I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah. So
glad you're here, by the way.
I'm at a party with some mucky mucks and out in this private, outside of Salem, in this private ranch, and there's this guy staying there with his girlfriend. It's like a 1-bedroom fixed up sort of. It's not a shack, but it used to be. It's been totally redone. So there's a group of people there, and we're doing a mixture. And so I'm taking coke, and I snort a line of China White, and it's not working. So I mean, China White makes you boom immediately. Sorry about that, folks. So so I take some coke and I take some China White. It's not kicking in. People are leaving. I take another hit of China White because it's not working, and everybody splits. And it's just me and my girlfriend and this guy in the house. Curtis, why don't you guys stay here? You don't want to drive, you know. I said, yeah, cool. So check this. This is a 1 living room, bedroom, kitchen place. That's it. This little place this guy's staying at. Very fixed up nice, but there's no bedrooms. It's living room, bedroom thing. So the bathroom is big, and we pull a futon into the bathroom, and we fix it up and everything. So we're going to sleep in the bathroom. And believe me, it's clean. It's a futon on the floor. The bathroom's big. And I go to bed and I'm thinking, oh boy, you know, I mean, I'm on coke and I'm on a speedball.
Yeah.
And so just to put it, that's pretty much an aphrodisiac right there.
Oh, no.
And my girlfriend is she's taking off her makeup and stuff, and she's a sweetheart and stuff. And I'm going like, okay, and I remember I just kind of kicked back and I'm waiting for her to crawl in bed. Next thing I know, I wake up and I am looking down at the ground, and my girlfriend is crying, and this other girl is crying, and she's wiping her mouth. And she's going, damn it, you're bleeding. Your mouth is bleeding like this. And this guy next to me, his name is Sam. And Sam says, damn, Curtis, what, wow, that was close. What are you talking about? I said, man, you OD'd. I did. And about that time, I touch my hand hurts. I touch it and I'm bleeding. And the girl's going, but what are you guys talking about? Well, why is my head bleeding? He goes, well, you OD'd. And so we filled the tub up. See, I'm in the bathroom with ice water, and we tried to pick you up and put you in it, but we dropped you on the side of the tub. So I hit my head. So I'm going, what the, why? So I OD'd. I'm still trying to put this all together. And then I feel my chest. No bullshit. I feel my chest and it hurts. Well, that's because we've been pounding on it.
Oh, my God.
We've been pounding on this stuff. And I go, man, so I OD'd. And my girlfriend's like, yeah, you OD'd. Oh, my God. You're like this. And I'm going, and I'm just like stunned. And I said to him, why didn't you take me to the doctor? And he says, well, I've got a couple of pounds of weed underneath the floor here. And, I can't get busted for that.
Oh,
and I'm telling you, like that, I got the equation.
Yeah.
My life is worth 2 pounds of weed. And
wow.
He would rather, so he even said, I was thinking about putting you in a field.
Jesus,
why would you put me in a field? That's no kidding.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? So what? And I said to him, why not just take me to the emergency room and kick me out the door?
Yeah, too much of a risk.
I don't think I said kick me, but why not take me to the emergency? Why not take me there? Oh man, I got 2 bags of weed. I can't get busted for that. And that was the beginning of me going, so here, now let's get to your question, the answer to your question. And that is, once I got into the program, I took myself in. I went up. I was at the Key Largo. I was buying cocaine to shoot up and have a night of sex and mirth and drugs and rock and roll.
And, okay.
And I go home. But before I left that club, I turned around to this doctor who a year before had said, your liver is swollen. Have you ever thought about AA? And he introduced me. He goes, well, I'm not going to, but if you ever need help. And I was walking out the door and I saw him and I just walked up to him. And said, hey, and I grabbed him by the collar and said, I need help. I'm willing to go in. What can we do? And then right at that time, the owner of the club who leased it, his name was Tony DiMacaulay. He's still around.
Tony D, yes, sir.
He comes up and goes, what are you guys talking about? And the doctor, I think his name was Steve, he goes, Curtis is thinking about going into treatment. I'm like, is that what he said? I mean, whatever. And Tony goes, oh, really? Let's see what he looks like. And he shined this light into my eyes. They both laughed over the cruelty, like, oh, and their smiles immediately evaporated. I just looked at them. I go, what? And they're like, oh, Tony was like, yeah, whatever. And he kind of walked off. So then I went home, right? I walked up. I said, I need help. The next morning, about 10, I haven't slept yet. I'm still up. You have that weird sort of sweat and oil and whatever, of a night of banging coke and drinking box wine and staying up. And it's just like, this was my last hurrah. And these guys came over. It was the keyboard player, Joey Heineman, and the bass player, John Mazzacco, and the guy, Steven, the doctor. And they both came over, and Steven said, hey, do you remember last night? Yeah. Do you remember what you said? Are you serious about getting clean and sober? And I said, yes, I am. And well, John and Joey here have been talking to the other band members, Jeff Miniweather and Jay Bird Coder, and they're willing to cough up money from the gate and throw it your way towards treatment.
Wow.
and I can put you into treatment. And then he whips into his pocket and he pulls out a piece of paper that he drew up as a contract. And he said, do you want to, if you mean well with this, and if you're telling the truth, are you willing to sign this contract? And I said, yeah, but is this about Jesus Christ? I mean, are you going to push Jesus Christ on me? And he says, no, it's about a higher power. Do you believe in something bigger than yourself? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I know something's going on.
Yeah.
Is it? And I won't go off, but do I believe it's a singular person picking who lives and who dies?
Right.
No.
Right.
It's too beyond us.
Right.
So that's it right there. That's godlike right there. So I go, no, I believe in a higher power. Yeah, I do. And I said, can I make my higher power? This is the truth. I said, can I make my higher power Thelonious Monk?
Really? Monk?
Yes.
All right.
And he goes, yeah, you can do that. I said, okay, then.
Yeah.
Thelonious Monk it is. I love Thelonious Monk.
You bet, man.
So,
yeah,
please let this genius harmonics is
right.
It's like a 4-year-old that's beyond his thing. So, but it is the coolest of cool. So anyhow,
and outside yourself, right?
Yeah, hardly. So anyhow, so I got treatment. Now here's to answer your question. Yeah. There's the whole story of this. This is how I got clean, whatever. And when I first started it was egotistical. It was, you know what? I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I already know where you're going. I'm in this party and you're watching these people. And when people take liquid courage and they take stuff like their personalities change. It's like when your faces come out of the rain, faces coming, to me, it's just like, if you're high, I can see it, smell it. I just feel it. Yeah. And it's awkward at first, but I had this egotistical where it's like, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I'm already ahead. And that's egotistical.
Sure.
And it's like, you know what, and musician wise, you who use and stuff, and I'm not using, and a lot of people use it as something they need to feel that they need to get high. It makes them creative. I'm not going to argue that. It makes them this and that. But it did the opposite for me. It was like, let's kick ass. Yeah. I can't wait to get out there. I had people literally come up to me and go, I liked you better when you were drinking.
Oh, yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I've had it too, man. Yeah.
I've been in with somebody, close friends, and this is, I don't, they're drinking and I'm not, and it bothers them.
Sure. They're uncomfortable.
Like a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but at first it was egotistical. And here's the end of my story with this. It's just like, pretty soon, all of those little colloquialisms and all those things like let go, let God, one day at a time. One day at a time. I mean, COVID. This is all program going on.
Yeah.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. That's it. That's all I got to say about it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. So it's like, I don't know where that came from, but that is it. But to me, at first, it was, and I started going, get over yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to be a better person to other people. And it just, and all I want to do is, when I die, I want people to go, yeah, man, he's standing pat. He's right. He's on top of it. He lived a good life. And, I got something. What else? You can either be a negative schmo or you can be a nice person.
Yeah.
Because we're all, so I choose happiness. Well, isn't that the way it should be?
Well, okay, so it should be, right?
I know. It should be. But I mean, now it's like, look what's going on. Look with the internet. Look at this and the power plays and all this. It's like, oh my God, where's the dignity? Where's the
decency?
The decency and dignity. It's like we've lost our moral fiber. There's some sort of, and people are like, you know what? Fuck you, man. I'm not even I owe you money? Not anymore.
Right.
But it's just like, oh my God.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Like when I was asking you about whether or not things changed for you, and you talked about how you felt like you were 1 step or 10 steps ahead, and the judgment that came out, when you first were getting sober, you know, you're in that mindset. Well, I'm doing better for me, so I must be better than you, kind of thing. And then it's not. But you've been in recovery for quite a while, right? You've been
Mine was. I'm thinking in terms. I don't know if I think I'm better than, but my competition wise is like I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
Right.
I already know where this chess game's going.
Right.
I already know where this is going. I brought the game here. You know, that kind of a thing. You know, so you know.
I'm just wondering, like, if you've been sober how long?
33 years, 32 years since 1988.
Amazing, man. Yeah, that's
32.
That's right. So like between, you know, like, so 34 years ago, you know, you're out hanging with these artists, you know, you're performing around, and you've made a name for yourself, and you're touring. Do you feel like you still had the respect and reverence for some of those artists, or did you kind of feel like, did you get a newfound respect for them after you got sober, realizing the real depth and quality of those performers when your head is a little clearer? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say, you know, it wasn't like my head was cloudy 24/7.
Sure.
I still have reverence for no matter what. And for people who it's not, I'll drive the car. I don't really judge people. I mean, good records are made and stuff. Sometimes you can sit there and go, you know, if that guy will, you know, some people are their own worst enemy. I was blessed enough to like, and I've still got so much to learn, you know. I have so much to learn. It's embarrassing.
Well, you say it's embarrassing, but how lucky, or I guess how fortunate are you to recognize that? You know, for me, I know that a lot of people that may not ever get to that point, right, where they recognize that they've got a lot to learn. I was that guy. I didn't realize how much I had to learn until yesterday or today. You know, every day the layers keep getting peeled back, and I think, wow, you know, like as soon as you cross one threshold into another, you realize, wow, there's still, you know, another base camp to get to before I even find that wisdom. And it's awesome. I like that, you know, and hanging out with other guys that have sort of worked on that journey together, especially in the creative sense, whether it's the music industry or art or, you know, like theater, writing. You know, you look at like guys like Bukowski, you know, poets who are, you know, famous for their debauchery and just, you know, the stuff that it's almost comedic, you know, that they were just down and out, and but then you see stories of triumph. You know, you look at cats. I know in the rock and roll world, guys like you know, like Alice Cooper would not be around anymore had he not gotten sober. You know, that dude, he's found a way to reinvent himself, and he's still like got his thing. He's out there selling out arenas, and he's still doing it. You know, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry and a lot of those guys from Aerosmith. You know, they figured out, all right, well, we paid those dues. We wrote that chapter in the book, and if we want to keep having chapters in the book, it's time to shift gears. You know Dave Weckl, you know, jazz drummer guy from Chick Corea's band.
Dave Weckl, I met him once. I shook hands briefly with him when he was playing with Frank Zappa, because I got to be a guest artist.
Did you really?
Zappa had passed away, and they were doing a tribute here in town.
Wow!
And I got to sing "Brown Shoes Don't Make It."
Wow! Did you really?
But you know, I mean, that's a high level stuff like this. But you know what? You know, a lot of people don't make it, which is because you're like this, and then all of a sudden, like you said, I reinvented myself.
Yeah.
People, all those people you name, were reinventing yourself and trying to, like, because this ain't working.
Yeah.
You know.
When I mentioned Weckl, I was 16, and my dad wanted me to expand my encyclopedic understanding of music, right? So he was a big jazz guy, and so my dad took me to see Chick Corea, and Chick Corea acoustic band, John Patitucci on bass, Dave Weckl on drums. And I ran backstage to meet Weckl. I was so floored because all I was into was like Motley Crue and Scorpions, you know. And so I was telling him I've never seen anything like this. And we talked. He invited me back to the hotel lounge, and we hung out for hours with my dad sitting at this table. And Weckl like, "Hey man, you party?" And I was like, "Nah, dude." And I was super straight. You know, I didn't even drink coffee, right? And he's like, "Well, it's good, because if you want to get to this point," and he was in his 30s at that point, he said, if you want to do this for a career, because I told him I was a drummer and I want to do this for a living,
Right.
you know, and he said, if you want to do this for a career, man, you cannot be, you know, a responsible adult in your 30s and 40s doing what I did in my late 20s, early, you know, late teens. And I thought he was asking me to party at first. And I was like, no. He said, no, man. He said, if you want to be at the top of your game, you get this shit figured out now, you know, get it out of your system. And he wrote me a letter after that. I actually still have this framed letter from him. And it was one of those things that as a 16-year-old, you know, you hold these idols up at a certain level. And when they inspire you with ways to be better, you know, that to me said a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't start my partying until late 20s and then finished it up about 10 years ago, you know. And so I was a late bloomer, had a lot I thought to, you know, to catch up on. But when you can be an influence like that at a really high level with people, it's kind of like legacy. You know, if you,
Right.
you said you want to be at the end of your days where you just want to be a good person. You know, you want people to think, man, that guy did right by me. How important is it for you to feel like, you know, you can at least empower people with some of that wisdom? You know, you paid some dues, you wrote some chapters in the book, and now you can hand them some of your wisdom, and hopefully they can avoid speed bumps along the way. Is that something that is,
I don't think about it, because if I did, then wouldn't you feel kind of full of yourself? Like, I'm Mr. Wisdom. I don't know. When somebody comes up to me and says, you know, if it wasn't for you, this and that, that hits me hard. And it's just like, I just like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, and usually because I'm quite a talker, I mean, as you can tell, it's just like, I'll start going, well, that's because of this or whatever. It's like, thank you so much is basically what it's about. Is if I'm affecting people like that, then that's the highest thing. I mean, it's like, that's,
yeah,
you know, when you meet somebody and he's your hero, your musical hero, and they don't snob on you and they don't like, hey, buzz off, you know, that's always going to happen. You can always come up. You got to know, you got to read the temperature of a room and when to come up and say something. But when somebody turns around and says, you know what, you know, don't worry about it, or let me give you some advice, and you know, there's I mean, what can I say? I'm blessed if that's happening, but I'm not gonna, you know, I don't pay attention is what I'm saying. I don't pay attention to it. I hope that's happening. That would be something, but I'm not gonna wear it like a badge. You know?
That is the humble way. I mean, when I was reading in the chat about all these people that talked about the influence that you had on them, and the way you made I mean, like the way you made them feel, that's a huge thing, right? So you think about the impact you have on someone without standing on a soapbox telling them what they should. But I was reading like this one. I love Tony Prophet, man. He said, deep respect, your soul is on your skin. We all see it. That is something that's pretty special, you know, because you can wear it there and people can spot it, and it's not like you wearing it as a badge or saying this is how to be. I think that's special, man. I think, you know, this is funny.
How am I missing something?
Yeah, you're not. I'm yeah. So you're on your phone, and you don't get to see these. I get to pick and choose which captions you see here. So.
Well, tell them I love you very much. Thank you.
Well,
let's hang and
there you go.
Have coffee.
So this is a funny thing that I started doing with a couple of guests because it's ridiculous, but I've been collecting fortune cookies. So I'm going to do this for you, Curtis, and we're going to see if there's either inspiration for new lyrics or if this even relates to your life at all. I'm opening a fortune for Curtis.
Oh, come on. Wait a minute.
There we go.
Read it first.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is actually the lamest one ever, but
thank you. I knew it.
See? Yeah.
That's my life.
There it is. You're a leader. That's all it says. Yeah. So, all right. I want my money back on that fortune.
I love that.
Here's another one. Don't let unexpected situations throw you. That's another one that I had just gotten that I didn't give to somebody. So you can have that one.
I'll take the leader, and I'll take both. And they both are. I'm trying to be a leader, and stuff does hit me unsuspectedly if you're a band leader. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you rolled with the punches. We just talked about that on your trip to Switzerland, right? Yeah. I mean, you had a last minute sort of change of lineups.
Yeah.
You rolled, and it's kind of what you have to do. You know, our friend Jennifer Batten that was watching, she's had so many things like that because of COVID the last couple of years.
Right,
you know?
right.
And
you know, the people that pulled me out is what says something, is the blessing, is that's what says something, is somebody actually, I can't believe. Look, you know what Steve Miller told me once? I did this. I came in and I was moaning about some band members at the time, and I don't understand. He goes, Curtis, you know what, man? You're paying these people to follow your dream, and you try and do the best you can to. And so that, I mean, I always try to make up for something. I always go, all right, you know, I mean, I'm not saying this very well. You're out on a road. I'm in a van, an econo van pulling a trailer, and you're going out there and to play music for the money that they have accepted and stuff, and they're worth thousands. You know, that's something that's like, isn't that we are as musicians that define that gig? And I want to be that person that, like, you can be on retainer and I'll give you $150,000 a year just to sit on your ass until we go. I would love that. You could be in to me, I just want to help and make it easy, because you can't take it with you, as they say.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I remember I was in I'm bopping right now. I remember I was in like some little 7-Eleven, and there was like, you know, what's the name of that rag? It's Inquiry.
Okay.
And it says, Liz Taylor dies penniless. We all die penniless, you know.
You're right.
He died broke and didn't have nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, to me, it's the moment, in the moment, one day at a time, and that. I want to make everybody, and it's that moment when you're on stage and damn, the band is crushing. So I better get up here and crush myself, or you're floating, and everything's, you know,
no
a
disrespect.
PA system can throw you off, a light can throw you off, a lights or this, or you can't hear yourself. You know, you got to learn how to surf on this sound wave. All this stuff is going, all these variables are going, but when it connects, oh man. Better. You know, there's nothing like it.
I didn't want to be disrespectful to your beautiful Suzanne, right? But man, that goosebump moment, you said it doesn't happen every time, but when it does, trying to explain that to somebody that's not been on stage is impossible, right?
Yeah.
You know, when that happens, I can tell you that, you know, out of playing, you know, 44 years on, you know, sort of semi-professionally, I say professionally, like high school days, right? You get paid to play in the bars. I think I probably had that real feeling a dozen times, and it still is what I pursue each night. You know, you walk out there, and I'm talking about the eyes roll back in your head, and the goosebumps happen, and you radiate the entire night, man. It's so hard to explain. I don't know that anybody has put it down on paper that actually I felt like it really hit home, but that you can only get that a handful of times and make you seek it for the rest of your life. That's what I take with me. You know, at the end of my days, when I'm down, you know, in the pine box or, you know, in the crematorium, that feeling, the unexplainable sort of feeling on stage, and the experiences that go along with it, the pursuit, you know, that journey, man. I mean, one day at a time for sure. And without looking back, you're not taking material stuff with you. You're not taking a Rolex or a Benz or a, you know, that house, but the experience and the time that you guys spent backstage in Switzerland, or backstage in New Orleans, or on stage, you know, and you're playing, you know, the theaters. And that's, to me, man, those are the experiences that they stay in your soul when you go on the ground. And I honestly, I mean, I feel like that's what I'm getting from you and the other cats that I'm really blessed to get on this show. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate your, not just the stories, man, but your honesty and your vulnerability. You've influenced a lot of people, but for me, man, I really feel like I'm blessed to have a new buddy in Curtis Salgado. So, man, you keep that stuff up. Keep building experiences, and you got a lot of people that want to have coffee with you on the side chat here. So they'll be dragging you out. When do we get to see you play live in Portland again?
Say that again, please.
When do we get to see you live in Portland again?
don't know why, but you're breaking up on me. Did
Oh,
you say my playing next?
yeah. When are you in Portland next?
I'm going to California to play at a club in Oakland, California called Yoshi's.
Oh, the biggie. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And there's a festival down there. We had a couple of anchor dates, but COVID took them away.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to do the last 3 or 4 that are left.
Okay.
And when you're talking, it's breaking up. I hope that isn't my phone, but when you speak into your microphone,
I'm here.
Please don't get mad at me.
No problem. I hear it on yours too.
Happening.
Well, I tell you what,
Oh, really?
people can find out where you're playing down below at curtissalgado.com, and then they can go back and watch episode 1. So, thank you for being here, my friend, and folks, thank you for chatting. I appreciate you being here. Man,
Can you understand me?
Yep.
Can you understand me?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, music is brain food for the soul. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody for their nice, kind words. And come up and let's shoot the breeze.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis Salgado. Thanks again, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you. You guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you next week with Norman Sylvester.